The message of hope and fulfillment to suffering mankind is conveyed by Silvio Gesell's main work, The Natural Economic Order. This book shows to the despairing nations of the world the royal road to general prosperity and peace. Instead of the gold standard and private issue and control of the value of money, government issue of debt-free money and stabilization of its purchasing power in the interest of all, instead of a contracted production adapting itself to a contracted money circulation as determined by the interest rate, insurance of money circulation, and adaptation of the volume of circulating money to the ever-expanding production, assuring its complete distribution. Instead of custom walls rendered useless by capacity production, free trade and peace. Instead of capital income for few, tremendously increased working incomes for all, made possible by potential production. Instead of bureaucracy and curtailment of freedom, highest economic and personal freedom, with economic justice assured. Such are some of the tremendous possibilities opened by the investigations and findings of the economic thinker Silvio Gesell to a poverty and war-stricken world in the Natural Economic Order, NEO. This book belongs to all those who, in the economic, social, and political turmoil of our times, have retained their faith in the possibility of a solution, and who, with such faith, are hopefully seeking the solution. The NEO has been hailed as the masterwork of an economic genius. The NEO reveals the economic causes of civil strife and war. The NEO supplies the program for the coming great statesman. The NEO will initiate the coming great era of the natural economic order, neoism, or free economy. The work, consisting of 2 volumes, the money part and the land part, is sent under money-back guarantee, complete or in part, for 5 days free examination. And I would like to add that this publication, the money part and the land part being 2 separate books, that is the American edition of the Natural Economic Order. All of the other editions, it was all in 1 book. Also in the American edition, there is an excellent biography written about Silvio Gesell, and I will read that soon and publish it for all to see. Here are some worldwide comments on the NEO and Silvio Gesell. And I will also read more comments in the near future. I have quite a collection, and it will prove how great Silvio Gesell was and how well known he was throughout the world. And today, you cannot find his name in any encyclopedia or dictionary, which seems unbelievable when we consider the fact that his movement was worldwide and he was world famous prior to Hitler and World War II. And as I've mentioned before, the very first people that were taken prisoner in the very first concentration camp, it took place on March 12th, 1933 in Oranienburg, Germany, just north of Berlin. It was called a wild concentration camp. It was an abandoned factory. And one day Hitler's SS showed up and took prisoner many of the leaders of the natural economic order movement, the free economy movement. Many books were printed in Oranienburg, including the first American edition, the first English edition, I should say, the first English translation of the natural economic order. It was published in 1929 in Aden, Oranienburg. And many of the leaders of the movement lived in Oranienburg. And that's where Silvio Gesell spent the last years of his life, in Aden, Oranienburg. And that's where his body is buried, in the Oranienburg Cemetery. And it's no coincidence that this is the first place that Hitler targeted to arrest the very first political prisoners. It was the disciples of Silvio Gesell, the return of Christ. And Christ foretold all of this in Matthew chapter 22, verses 1 to 14. He foretold that when he came the second time, that his servants would be seized, treated terribly, and killed. And that's exactly what happened when his disciples that believed in him and his great message of how to create God's kingdom on earth. That's how they were treated in the concentration camps, the Nazi concentration camps in World War II, all over Europe. So here, worldwide comment on the NEO. I believe that the future will learn more from the spirit of Gesell than from that of Marx. John Maynard Keynes, Cambridge University. He's also known as Lord Keynes. He's the most famous economist from England. And also in one of his books, he wrote that Silvio Gesell is a strange, unduly neglected prophet. He had the greatest respect for the man named Silvio Gesell. And the famous author H.G. Wells wrote, Gesell's name will be a leading name in history once it has been disentangled. And Professor Irving Fisher, America's greatest economist, also said he was a humble disciple, a humble student of Silvio Gesell. And he also said the application of Gesell's principle of circulation of money will lead the nation out of the Depression within 2 to 3 weeks. The next quote, brilliant solution of the whole complex of economic problems. O vice leader, industrial leader, Mansfield minds. Gesell, the true master of them all. Paul D. Cruyff, writer, economist. When I became acquainted with Gesell's ideas, in a flash, all my former views of economics were changed. That was written by Peter Veston, industrial leader. Above all, the adoption of free economy. That was written by Professor A. Forel, Nobel laureate. Gesell's work will initiate a new epoch in the history of mankind. Dr. B. Uhlemeyer. Gesell's teachings are irrefutable. Professor Harms, economist, Kiel University. A great independent achievement, mountain high, the most fundamental analysis that we possess. Professor O. Stilich, Berlin University. Gesell's discoveries and proposals are of the greatest importance for the centuries to come. Dr. Theophil Christen, mathematician and physicist. Only the principles of free economy can eliminate the immoral, extorting system, as well as inflation and deflation, and with them, tremendous unemployment. Johann Uda, Graz University. By Gesell, economic science has become as clear as crystal. Dr. E. Hunkel, economist, publicist. The greatest boon for humanity since the introduction of Christianity. An economist of Harvard University, to Walter Lippmann.